Welcome to Mystree Inn. That is spelled Mystree Inn. We are a humble motel operating off of one of Ontario's largest highways. We are a host to a variety of guests, all of whom, in one way or another, connect to what we call the larger picture. We cater to a niche set of needs. Our facilities include cozy rooms equipped with the finest of fireplaces, perfect to share folklore from wherever our travelers bring us stories from, though a lot of this, admittedly, is just mysterious gossip. A photo lab to discuss and dissect the most strange and bewildering photos of the week. Computers to delve into the depths of the internet speculation on the latest anomalies. A library filled to the brim with obscure poems and short fables. Our very own cryptic society in the lounge area, and perhaps, maybe every once in a blue moon, a guided tour. We encourage our guests to submit any and all strange occurrences, comments, concerns, and the like to our basement archives located at mystreeinn.tumblr.com. That's mystreeinn.tumblr.com. We graciously thank our wonderful lodgers for their continued support and ability to keep the motel up and running. Now, it would only be fair to introduce myself at this point. My name is Casper, and I have operated this motel and kept a keen eye on all of its patrons for about a year now. I am a filmmaker. I am currently working on a very large project, a photographer, and occasional drone pilot doing mapping of forests and field properties. My love and interests for all things mysterious came at a young age. Scooby-Doo and the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boy books were my most beloved pieces of media from the ages of around 4 to 8. That naturally carried itself over to consuming different types of media as the years went by, everything from The X-Files to a very brief blip in time with the show Supernatural, as I'm sure many of you are aware of. Gravity Falls was in there at some point, and just recently I finished Twin Peaks. Incredible show. I highly recommend it. It is perfect for anyone who loves mystery, who loves true crime, but a very different take on it. A very sort of acknowledging, almost, I guess you could say, the faults of true crime in some ways. So it's an interesting dissection on that, but at the same time very abstract, a little bit soap opera-ish. So if you can stand that, absolutely recommend it. It's a gem. Chef's Kiss, and any of David Lynch's other works I would also recommend. He really works in the mysterious, in the unexplainable questions of this world, in the abstract, in, I guess, if you're a filmmaker, you'll hate this word, but in the avant-garde realm. So I recommend him for sure if you are looking for some mysterious films or TV shows or anything of the like to consume. So I started to cultivate a sort of archive for this specific aesthetic called Mystery Core on Tumblr, and I really just ended up making a vague post about it. It kind of took off. I'm not claiming credit for the entire thing. A lot of it was a branch off of crypticore and liminal spaces and stuff like that. And the idea is that for those of you who haven't heard it, it's content that at its core centers around not necessarily the specifics of, but the feeling of mystery. The feeling you get sitting around a campfire at 2 a.m., the quiet stillness of crickets and crackling of fire accompanying a friend calmly and seriously telling you the tale of the strange humanoid creature they saw off Highway 7 at midnight some 7 years ago. People have made their individual contributions to this aesthetic. Many of the visuals you will find in the community are pictures of space, UFOs, fields, liminal spaces, which I mentioned before. They're basically photos with flashes or weird locations, things that emit a feeling of deja vu, especially to American audiences or people in North America, Canada, like myself. There was a really interesting video on YouTube. Maybe I'll link it if I remember, that discussed why liminal spaces are so specific to North America. But that's beside the point. I'm going on a tangent. So early into the podcast. I'm already going on tangents. Neon signs are another, aesthetic that you'll see in here, and just so much more stuff. And to get a better idea, I will read out a list that I wrote about a year ago, about the time that I decided to sort of kick off this mystery core thing, and it just sort of describes the aesthetic in an abstract way. You'll see lists like this pop up around Tumblr, and I sort of took inspiration from that. So here it is. First, we start off with something I love: strange entities. They search for the meaning, or possible lack of meaning, of life, the universe, and everything. Nice Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference you got there. Weird disappearances, aliens, secret government shenanigans, dense forests where unknown creatures lurk, not letting people know a whole lot about you, psychic shops in the downtown region, secret codes, cryptids, folklore and stories heard by word of mouth, premonitions of the future, things that only make sense to the artist or creator, perhaps just like this podcast that I'm doing right now. You'll be the judge on that. You can listen to me or not. I could be a crazy person just rambling to themselves in their room, which is completely fine by me, and I'm okay spending my life that way, but that's besides the point. Conspiracies, parapsychology, weird anomalies like cows with two heads and stuff, sleep deprivation and coffee. Need I say any more? Space, forests, dark alleyways, poetry that almost makes logical sense but just doesn't quite. The dark in general, long jackets, dark sunglasses, as you may have seen at the beginning of this podcast if you're watching the video format. If not, just know that I'm wearing very dark sunglasses that if you have red eyes or yellow eyes or other eyes that need to be protected from the sun, cryptic eyes, strange eyes, no eyes, I recommend wearing a pair of round sunglasses like the ones I have on now. Please don't ask me how I know that. It just gives a very wide breadth to the eye region. It allows for a large circumference so that nobody can sneak any looks in. Just a tip from somebody who doesn't know anything on this subject at all. Wild and unruly hair, which I love so much, and this was sort of just a personal thing for me, a personal tangent, if you will. I love wild and unruly hair, and I'm here for it. I'm hair for it. I am hair as a hair advocate for wild and unruly hair. I do not like hair that's taken care of or slicked back. I'm not a fan of that myself. My hair, right now, it's not that messy, but it can get very wild and unruly, and I love it. I think it adds so much character. I mentioned that I was a film in the film industry, like sort of. I'm an artist anyways, and I create characters who have crazy or wild hair most of the time, and I work with actors, and when I do work with actors, I usually have them have crazy hair as well, because I just think that it looks cool. Okay, who wouldn't want that? It makes you look like you rolled out of bed and you're going somewhere and you have a lot of things to do and you have a chaotic life. You are the main character, so to say. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents on wild and unruly hair. Psychedelic imagery, abandoned buildings, creepy motels, empty parking lots, lone street lamps, preferably flickering, very important note, ominous road signs, and many more. So, now that we have all of that covered, I suppose it is time to head over to the fireplace, and I will tell you a story. A very interesting, a very creepy story. So, welcome to the fireplace. We are going to be reading a story today that has been submitted by a listener from somewhere in southern Ontario, which is very cool. I've visited there once or twice, you could say. It's a nice region, definitely haunted, lots of old locations. Recommend it to anyone who's in the area to check out your local haunted locations, haunted tours, as we'll see in this story. Local tourism. Support local businesses, please. And I'm just gonna pop on these pair of just glasses that I need, because we want to take care of our vision, especially when we are delving into the mysterious and unexplained. Because you don't trust me, I know from personal experience. You do not want to be in a field at 3 a.m. exploring a local cryptid that you heard about through your great aunt, and you're out there in the field and you can't see anything because you either didn't take care of your eyes or didn't wear glasses. You just do not want that to happen. Trust me, I know. So take care of your eyes. If you have glasses, wear them often. Make sure that your eyes stay strong and healthy. If you don't, good for you. What does it feel like having 20/20 vision? And also, maybe it's time to get a eye checkup, because you don't want to, like I said, be in a field and realize that you can't see anything. So, just a little side note: take care of your eyes, please, folks. And they said that this incident occurred in the middle of October of 2017. Very spooky time. Great for this tale to take place in. And I'm just going to let them explain the rest. When I was in my senior year of high school, a few of my friends and myself decided to go on a ghost tour to get into the Halloween spirit. We had originally intended on going to a party that night, but one of my friends, we'll call her Betty, was informed at the last minute that her ex would be there with their new girlfriend. Betty had just had a really bad breakup with them. So, my other friend, we'll call him Alan, and I agreed that we should skip this one and that it wasn't a big deal to miss one of the millions of parties that would inevitably be thrown that year. Even though we were opting out of the party, we still wanted to do something with our Saturday night other than watch a movie. We decided to go on a walk downtown and wander around until we found something to do. Eventually, after walking around for about a half an hour and having not one, but 2 drinks spilled on me by a wandering drunk, we eventually saw a building advertising a ghost tour. Betty and I immediately ran up to the front door, practically dragging a reluctant Alan with us. He had always been a scaredy cat, but we loved him for it. I vividly remember Betty saying, "Come on, Alan, I need a good distraction, and what better way than getting the shit scared out of me?" Alan begrudgingly agreed, and we went inside to sign up for the tour. The inside of the building wasn't anything strange or odd. It had clearly been renovated from one of the many historic buildings that made up the downtown area, which gave it a certain charm. We signed up for the tour and were placed with a guide wearing a black robe and carrying a fake lantern. Our guide was a very nice lady. She was a bit goth, but a perfect person to give us a ghost tour. She took us to many different spots around town, explaining at each location a strange fire or paranormal apparition that had occurred on the premises. Alan clung tightly to Betty and I the entire time, but nevertheless he stuck through it. At some point, we wound up down a dimly lit alleyway. It was dead quiet save for the echoing sounds of bar-goers and patio music drifting by on the cool autumn air. Our guide pointed our attention to 3 windows just barely visible above the sidewalk. Inside was a cluttered-looking workshop. There were antiques of every kind scattered about. A deep yellow fluorescent light lit up the space, but it was still hard to make out most of the features. Our guide started to narrate the story of the Now Boutique. It had once been an occult shop back in the 70s or 80s, owned by a couple from the Czech Republic. They had only been moved in for 3 weeks when, upon starting to place their inventory in the basement, they discovered that there was a trapped spirit in it. They were both psychics and felt that there could have been something wrong in the space, but couldn't quite place their finger on what it was until this encounter one late October. "I fucking hope it wasn't this night," Alan muttered to me. I laughed it off, maybe foolishly. As they were unpacking a particularly expensive set of Ouija boards, one of them flew out of the box and spilled its contents all over the floor. The wife, who was unpacking the boards, shrieked as she saw it fall. Her husband came over to see what was wrong and came to find that somehow the planchette had landed right over the "Yes" inscription. The couple decided to delve further into this and found that the remains of an 8-year-old girl were buried beneath the foundation of the shop. As they communicated with her spirit, they found that she wished to be moved to an adjacent island on just the other side of the lake to downtown. They were in the process of digging up part of the basement before they had to rush back to Europe to take care of some elderly family members, ended up selling the place, and never returned. The current owners didn't see any reason to continue with the project and dismissed them as a bunch of greened out hippies. As our guide began to come to the conclusion of the story, I moved my head just slightly to the left and caught a glimpse of something through the window. Sitting at one of the workshop tables was a girl of about the same age as the one in the story, dressed in a plain white nightgown, and, most disturbingly, there were bits of both her clothing and actual body that had decayed. At first I couldn't process what I had just seen. I assumed that maybe it was someone's kid who happened to wander into the basement to play a trick on the tour groups that went by every night. Perhaps her distressed appearance was just a trick of poor lighting. As I looked harder, I could tell that this was not the case. She was flickering, almost like a hologram, but more watery, like a ripple on the surface of reality. Just looking at her strained my eyes as if she was holding my vision to her. Slowly, I reached over and tapped Betty on the shoulder. I pointed my finger down to the window, directing her vision to what I was seeing while not taking mine off of the girl. She froze before grabbing my arm and covering her mouth with her hand. The girl in the window looked up at us. Instinctively, I squeezed my eyes shut. I wasn't ready for whatever would stare me in the eyes. I don't think Betty closed hers. At this moment, our tour group carried on, and we slowly walked past the window where we had just seen the unholy apparition. Betty had tears streaming down her eyes as she robotically walked on with the rest of us, who had seemingly not seen anything. Alan had thankfully not seen or been aware of what had happened, as he was already too freaked out by the story our guide told to notice anything but it. This didn't mean that he didn't prod us to explain what happened, total terror in his voice. I said it was nothing and not to worry. It was just a trick of the light. When we all parted our separate ways at the end of the night, I ended up walking Betty home. I wanted to ask her if she had seen the same thing as me, try to discuss or dissect it, but she wasn't interested. She didn't want to talk and just wanted to go home, but assured me that she was all right. I said goodnight to her too and started on my walk home, feverishly shooting glances at any basement windows I came across. Something I still do to this day any time I am walking home late at night, especially on chilly October evenings. Wow, what a story. Thank you so much, listener, for submitting that. I am endlessly intrigued by your experience, and I have to wonder if perhaps, just perhaps, someone else on that tour group did actually see the apparition and just didn't want to say anything for fear of seeming crazy or not wanting to draw attention to it. Perhaps for the same reason that you also did not say anything to the rest of the group, I assume. And could you possibly share that location with us? I would, and I think many others would love to know where that is, possibly to visit. And I wonder if you have seen anything else past this point. Was this like a one-time paranormal occurrence, or do you frequently run into things like this? Window apparitions in particular, I wonder, because it seems like this particular phantom was attracted to you in some way. She wanted you to know something, which is why it seems that you possibly, this is my theory, that you turned your head at the very last moment and saw her just in the nick of time. So those are my queries on this fabulous story. I absolutely adore it, and I would love to hear any other experiences that you have. So thank you very much for that, listener. I very much loved it, and I am sure that everyone else did too, for that creepy little October tale. And again, if you would like to submit a story, please submit it at mystreeinn.tumblr.com. That's mystreeinn.tumblr.com. Well, now I suppose we should visit the photo lab to see if they've turned anything up for us this week. So let's take a look at what they have for us this week. And it seems that the first photo, oh yes. So the first photo, I actually took this. It's of an abandoned either grocery store or post office. And for our audio listeners, it has some sort of filing cabinet off to the left that is half glass, half wood, and there seems to be some sort of boxes in there, and then right next to that is a corridor that leads down into pitch blackness, and then you have a little gleaming yellow light coming in from the back. Very creepy. I don't know what that could be leading us to, possibly another dimension, who knows. And then right next to the corridor is another shelving unit, and all around this, the walls are peeling off. There's white paint peeling off of the walls. It's definitely in disrepair. I would not be surprised if there's asbestos in this building. There's what seems to be like sawdust on the ground, on the hardwood. Very creepy. I just thought it was a creepy location, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some, chaos entity living in here, perhaps. Perhaps not. That is for you to decide, and me to find out, I suppose. I'm just gonna take my glasses off for now, because I think that they are a little bit funny. So the next photo, The next photo is a photo of a cabin that I recently attended. It has 2 windows at the very back, and we're in a bedroom. There is a staircase in the middle of the floor that goes down into who knows what. The walls are painted yellow with blue showing through it. There used to be a coat of blue, it seems, there. There's a bed to the left and an exposed brick, what could have been a fireplace, but I don't think is, painted white. It's just a very creepy atmosphere. I find it very elusive. I don't know if I'd go down those stairs, but I have. So maybe that's why I wouldn't go down them. But again, that is for you to decide if you would go down the stairs or not. Maybe leave a comment saying if you would or not. I would like to know if you would go down the stairs, because that's one set of stairs, isn't it? Okay. Moving on. This is one that I actually found on the Mystery Core tag recently. It's by johnnyghostboy.tumblr.com. That's JohnnyGhostBoi.tumblr.com. Full credit to them. And this is a hallway in some sort of medical facility. It has fluorescent lights up here, and it leads to a dark, dark, dark spot at the very back, a void, if you will. Next to the void are 2 yellow chairs seated in, I suppose, a waiting area. And the reason I love this photo is because I can just imagine myself being in that waiting area, and I don't think I would like it because I'd be sitting right next to the void, waiting for perhaps an important medical procedure, and I would have to wait and see if anything popped out of the void, if there was any faces in there. I couldn't stop myself from looking. I can just show you that right now. Who knows what sort of entity would live in a medical facility like this. So I hate waiting areas as it is. That's just one thing about me. It's actually one of my biggest fears. Something that kicks off my anxiety like nothing else is waiting areas. And I'm not sure if that's for anyone else, but I don't like them. They creep me out, and is like, things should be happening. Like things should just happen, like they shouldn't be like build up. Build-ups are the worst. If anyone else has like anxiety out there, you might know what I'm talking about. It's just building up to something. It's just the grossest feeling ever, unless it's something that you're looking forward to, but that's also kind of a gross feeling. Anyways, moving on, that's besides the point. This is another photo that I took. It's just a picture of snakeberries, but the reason I like it is because I imagine that it is some sort of mysterious berry that you're walking along a hiking trail for a long time, and it's winding and you get lost sort of, and it's you kind of don't know where you are because you can't recognize any of these things. You've never seen them before despite having traveled this path hundreds of times before. And the time has completely surpassed you, and it's now like almost dusk, and you realize you haven't eaten or drinking anything, and you wander across these berries and they just look so good, and you just pick one and you eat it, and suddenly your eyes start to turn red and your fingers start to extend and your limbs start to extend, and there's your spine grows out of place, and you have horns all of a sudden appearing out of your head, and just like that you're a cryptid of the area. But disclaimer, never ever ever eat these berries. These are actually snake berries, and I think that if you eat them, I don't know much about plants honestly, or berries, but if you eat them, I'm pretty sure you're either gonna die, like maybe, or be poisoned, or it might just taste gross. So I just don't recommend eating snake berries. Please don't eat snake berries. They're like terrible for you, I can only imagine. Please don't eat snake berries. Just take pictures of them because they look cool. Let's be real. They look mysterious. They look like a very mysterious plant. If I were to say there's one mysterious berry out there that grows in the wilderness, snake berries. Well, like, what are they doing? They're so round and red. I can't believe it. So moving on from the photo section, thank you, Photolab, for that. We're going to move into the news section. I'm going to put on my glasses again because this is serious. It's news. It's serious news. I'm just joking. This is not very serious news. I mean, it could be, but perhaps not. So, in the news this week, BBC's History magazine did a poll to see what people thought of the world's greatest mysteries. In the news this week, BBC's History magazine did a poll to see what people thought the world's greatest mysteries were, and here I will share with you the top 10 results. Did Richard III order the murder of the princess in the tower? Classic English mystery. Kings, princesses, and towers. We got the whole 9 yards here. That's all you need. Sorry, my listeners in the UK, for stereotyping you. I know you're much more than your monarchy. I'm not going to get into that, though. And at number 2, we have who built Stonehenge and why. I actually visited Stonehenge about 4 years ago, and I was kind of a little bit distracted at the time. I didn't really take into account what it would come to mean to me, both spiritually and mysteriously, if that's a word, like in the mystery sense. It is an incredible ruin, and I definitely want to go back at one point, and I will in the future, I think. See those crazy stones. I'd love to go for the summer solstice or the winter solstice. Either one of those would just be fantastic. I think that they throw the most delightful parties, if I can say that, and just for the spiritual experience as well. It just looks incredible to be there on that powerful day. Either one of those powerful days. So, anyways, that's my little tangent about Stonehenge. At number 3, what happened to Jesus' body? That's a very good question. What did happen to Jesus' body? Maybe we'll find out at one point. Number 4, why did the Roanoke colony vanish into thin air? Now, this is a very interesting question, and embarrassingly, the only thing I really know about this mystery is through, I think, perhaps a podcast episode, but also BuzzFeed Unsolved. I absolutely adore them, and I think that they do a very good job, although it's not the most in-depth research you could possibly have on the subject. It gives a very good surface level, and they're just a bunch of entertaining old lads. Sorry, Shane and Ryan, for calling you old. No, you're not old, but it was just a phrase of the tongue, if I can say that. But yes, Roanoke Colony, very interesting. Check out their episode on it. And BuzzFeed Unsolved, definitely up there in the Mystery Core Rex for content, which I will create at some point, I assure you. At number 5, what is the Voynich manuscript trying to tell us? Good question. What is it trying to tell us? I personally would like to know. I will absolutely never figure it out myself. I'm not like the best at not mysteries. I love mysteries, but I'm not the best at puzzles and figuring things out in codes and mathematics and all of that sort of thing. I'm just here to hear about it and get excited about it and report it back to you. But I would definitely talk about it if the Voynich manuscript was ever solved. I would definitely talk about it here. Who knows? That could happen in the near future, or in the far future, or in some futures in between. We'll keep a good ear out for it. Where did the Ninth Legion meet its doom? That's a good question. Where did it meet its doom? That's at number 6. Number 7 was the Trojan War fact or fiction. Now, I didn't even know that the Trojan War was up for debate. I thought it was just a thing. It's sort of referenced in pop culture and just everyday life. So I never thought twice to think the Trojan War didn't actually happen. But I guess it kind of makes sense. It could have happened. I mean, obviously, it's like, did it happen or not? But I really didn't consider that, and perhaps that's just on me for being stupid, or maybe it's a more hidden secret of the world. At number 8, we have Where is Cleopatra's Tomb? Now, I would obviously love to see any of the educational findings they find with Cleopatra's tomb, but at the same time, maybe not the best idea to go digging up ancient rulers' tombs. We know how that happens from the movies, which obviously are not reality or anything resembling that. I can tell you that for sure. But come on, folks. They got a point, you have to admit. And at number 9, where did Amelia Earhart spend her tragic last moments? Now, this is very interesting. I don't know much about the Amelia Earhart case too much, but I have been sort of keeping track of it. One of my favorite podcasts, and I'm going to give them a quick shout out here, Astonishing Legends, did a wonderful series on her, and they kind of kept up as the case progressed, or is progressing. So that's really the only place that I know about it from. And personally, I don't think that she just went into the ocean. That's pretty much as far as I'm willing to go. But like, who knows? At the same time, like, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And I don't know too much about like the specifics of it. I haven't researched it a lot. You know, this is what you're going to find with this podcast and with me. I am not here to solve things. I'm not here to like look at a mystery and be like, okay, what is this? How did this happen? What were the specifics? What were the details of it? What I do and what I believe Mystery Core is about and what mystery is just that, not finding answers. Reveling in the act of looking without any expectation to find anything. Just the joy of it in itself. And I've always loved that, and I always will, and I think that's always how I will think about the world. And quite honestly, if I'll be quite honest, and maybe, you know, this is the first episode of the podcast, so perhaps a bit early, but I think the meaning of life is mystery, and that we don't know things, and that there's always things out there to explore, and that we can look at the world through a child's eye and be curious about everything and just be in that moment of mystery when you're looking, when you're invigorated, when you realize that life isn't about the answers. It's as cliche as it sounds, about the questions. And anyways, that's just that is what I think that life is about. It's about mystery, and it's about that things we'll never truly know everything, and that there's excitement and adventure in life, and there's things buried deep down that none of us will ever know about. And isn't that just incredible? I think it's incredible, and I think that if some of these things were solved, it would defeat the purpose just a tiny bit. Amelia Earhart, maybe not her case. I do want to see it solved, because I think that I think it's one of the ones that has like definitive point end to it. But for some other mysteries, I do think that perhaps having them just left to us to theorize and question about and ponder is good. Much like a lot of, not to mention him again, but David Lynch's work is a lot of it is about that. If you know anything about David Lynch, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, moving on. Number 10. Who was the architect of Anne Boleyn's downfall? To be a downfall of someone, that would require an architect and someone with a very sharp mind. Let's figure it out. Why not? Let's figure that one out. Because the question that is posed here, who was an architect? Now that has me interested. I don't know too much about Anne Boleyn, just a bit, but if you're going to be an architect or someone's downfall, it's going to be pretty interesting. And in personal news, the shadow climbing the windmill down the middle of my road looked at me today, stuck up its hand, and gave me a peace sign. Would any listeners be so kind as to enlighten me what this means? I truly don't know, and I've been thinking about it all afternoon, but I just don't know what he means. And I thought about what would it be like if I was a mysterious entity climbing a windmill, and I thought, I don't know why I would give a peace sign, and that's as far as I got. So if anyone else has any other answers, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And that, maybe I should just leave him to his little windmill activities. That's fine. I'm fine with leaving him to his windmill activities. I just, what does the peace sign mean is all I want to know. And that's it for the news this week. I don't think there's anything else I have to add. So we should now move on to the poems. The poems. Beautiful, mysterious poems. Poems are intrinsically mysterious. They are meant to be thought about and not known. So a user has simply requested to go by James, and they have submitted a poem about the void. So let's take a look at this poem. Under deep horizon skies I saw it there, near the moonlit haze. It hung in the air with a vacant stare, and sent shivers down my spine. I sent out a silent prayer that the void would not answer. Very good poem, James. I love it. Brilliant, astounding, show-stopping, amazing, incredible. Very good. I love the foreboding feeling of doom that it emits. That's probably my favorite part. And as well as the sort of PSA about not talking to the void if you are not prepared, because the void can be very elusive, and if you ask a question of it, you may not like the answer that you get, just not from personal experience or anything, but talking to the void is something that I would recommend only to the people that are truly prepared for whatever could come out of it, because you do not want to have your eyes burned out or put into a coma or burned to ashes. Just be careful with the void. We are living a human experience, and we have to take that into account, that living a human experience means that talking with entities such as the void could hurt us. And that is unless you are a void listening to this, in which case, if you are any void beings out there, thank you. Please don't destroy me or sue me, because I don't want to be sued by a void just yet. I know that they have very good lawyers, and I am quite honestly not prepared with a good enough legal team for that yet. But maybe come back to me in 3 months with that. If you have any concerns, voids, contact me personally and we'll deal with it, okay? Not gonna bring this into the podcast atmosphere just yet. Well, on that lovely note, I think it's time to bid you all farewell and good night. Again, if you need anything, please refer to mystreeinn.tumblr.com. That's mysteryin.tumblr.com for inbox submissions, direct questions, or the like. I'm going to be getting a website up and running soon, so you'll probably see that over on the blog when that does indeed happen. And the podcast episodes will be posted, I assume, both to the website, Tumblr, and YouTube. That's my plan so far. And then, so stay tuned for that. Possibly next week, I may also I'm really excited about this project, to be honest with you. I'm seething with excitement. Can I use seething in that context? I don't really know. I'm so excited about this. I've been wanting to do a podcast for years and years and years and years and years now, or make content of any type, to be honest with you. So I'm just really excited to be starting this project. I'm so excited to have all of you here with me along for the ride, and I hope that you can stick with it and put up with my antics long enough to see where this goes. So we'll see everyone back at the motel next week, or at a later date, possibly sooner than next week. And until then, take care, stay safe, and may mystery find its way to you.